So Aaron, for this podcast, what I want you to do before we continue is to take your feet, which I'm pleased to see that you have bared for me.
They are bared.
Smush them up against my face. I want kind of a couple of your toes to be kind of under my nose.
Okay.
So, because I need to be able to like smell them.
Okay.
And then we'll just carry on like that.
Well, I think that is how, you know how like some cinemas have like 4D experiences?
Yes.
I think if Tarantino had his way, the 4D experience of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would be a pair of feet right in your face.
Well,
a pair of really dirty feet.
You know, actually, he refuses to actually roll camera and
Right.
start shooting the scene unless someone of the crew sticks their foot in his face.
Oh.
Preferably underage girl.
That's so lovely.
I also have one other thing that I just need to tell you before we proceed, Aaron. I was actually accused once of killing my wife, but nothing was ever proved, and we're never going to come back to that ever again.
Excellent.
Moving
Good.
forward.
And I'll add that to the Check for Traps wiki page. There's not much like Quentin Tarantino left in this world.
No.
He's like the old magic, slowly disappearing. Sometimes something for better, sometimes for worse, and when you watch it, you can't help but feel that they're very much like this, with all associated weirdness included. Very few people could probably get away with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, definitely. This was what was so tragic about it. I mean, the movie had a kind of melancholic, but also like uplifting ending, and then we left, and we just ended up going and sitting, like at the bar for a while, and just being kind of quiet, because nothing like this ever happens. And that's not really to say that this is like the best movie I've ever seen, like far from it, but it's certainly unique, and we get very little of that.
Yeah, that really felt different. And yeah, like I said, sort of almost like it felt ethereal. It felt very much, it was about the ending of an era, but it also felt like, we were living through one, which was a weird feeling. And I don't know if it was intentional. He talks a lot about film changing, but he mainly talks about that in terms of like actual film reel.
Yeah, exactly.
Which speaks more to him. He's like the train guy of film.
The thing is as well, with that, Tarantino loves all movies so much that I'm not necessarily sure that he even finds the changing landscape as much of a problem. Because I bet that he is not annoyed by Marvel movies.
No, not at all. And I think he says he stopped watching them, but he says that was not like a quality thing. That was just sort of like a quantity thing. He was just like, I've got stuff to do. I'm a busy man. He's now going to have a child. I saw.
That was ridiculous. He's like what, 57 years old?
Yeah, I thought didn't think there would ever be Tarantino Jr.
He's going to have to stop doing cocaine.
Yeah,
he's not gonna.
Probably not. Yeah, I was gonna say just hire an extra nanny for every like cocaine session of the week.
Picking up on something you said about how they don't make movies like this anymore. This isn't even that much like previous Tarantino movies for me. I know that it has the hallmarks. It has suspense. It has at least one instance of kind of the old ultra violence.
Yeah, historical deviance rather than before where it was like the pillars of the film. They're more like sprinkles now, or like this felt at points more like Hateful Eight and Jackie Brown to me than any of what I guess people consider the acclaimed Tarantino films. I was actually thinking at one point, I was like, if this had been like 90s Tarantino, this would have definitely been like a split timeline sort of narrative. That's what felt so weird to this. I don't think he was interested in being quirky anymore. With what would you agree, like a bare minimal plot and just lots of character?
Yeah, loads of character. But like bare minimal plot, big on arcs.
Yeah.
At least for Rick Dalton had a really well-defined arc. Cliff was a bit too enigmatic. Like he seemed to have started where he began, except for the fact that he made some kind of peace with being replaced by Rick Dalton's new wife.
He accepted it with the sort of like grim stoicism that he accepted everything negative in his life. Yeah, just like his the fact he is a 50-year-old stuntman, which isn't a great age for stuntmen.
I want to talk to you about Cliff Booth now.
Yeah, let's do Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth, because Cliff, it was a great Brad Pitt performance. It was also a really restrained Brad Pitt performance, and Brad, he's a bit more of a larger-than-life actor than I think people give him credit for. Like, there's 12 Monkeys, he's being a bit crazy. There's Aldo Rain. That's the thing.
That's the
he
thing.
changed the scenery.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I think this is probably the best performance I've seen him do since Aldo Rain, and I think Aldo Rain was probably the best performance I've ever seen him do. So there's something about that marriage between Tarantino and Brad Pitt that makes him work his little socks off.
This one, to me, seemed like Killing Them Softly, Kogan in that, and he was kind of quite a bit like Kogan, but minus some of the, like the bitterness. Like, this character had difficulty in his life, but he wasn't bitter. You couldn't really see into him at all at times. Like, you just knew that there
was a sadness.
Was unstoppable.
But it was never like a bitterness. I think that's what made him stop feeling a bit like a Mary Sue. Though I have seen people call him that. Right. I feel like there was an inherent like melancholy. Like, he was like, oh, it could have worked out better, but I'm gonna make the most of it. And I think you really got that, and like the moments like there's a bit where he's fixing Leonardo DiCaprio's aerial.
Yeah.
He like jumps up onto the roof. There's a bit of a sigh and a resignation that he's still doing this, but then he's on the roof. It's sunny. He's quite happy.
He's got his one beer in his holster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's it's quite subtle, and I can see why people would think that he goes through the movie entirely unchallenged. I also really am happy that Quentin Tarantino left some of the left the characterizing text that I found. You could go through the film thinking Cliff Booth is a regular guy, pretty much. He's a World War II veteran, but again, not.
They didn't even tell you which war he was a veteran of.
Oh, I see. Okay,
movie, yeah.
But yeah, so not particularly extraordinary to be a war veteran. Once threw Bruce Lee into a car. But the Wikipedia page, and like looking at it, I sourced it. It comes from Tarantino's quotes on the matter. Say that he is the most dangerous man alive, a multiple medal awarding Green Beret, and like actually indestructible. I think they use the word indestructible.
Yeah, I think it says near indestructible.
Near indestructible.
Which is still a crazy thing to say about a character in a movie that's supposedly set in the real world.
Yeah, exactly. And one that includes people like Sharon Tate and your friend Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski, my best mate.
But again, I guess what it is it's like a subtler version of the Bastards, because the Bastards had like real characters. I mean, not obviously as many. It was basically just Hitler and Goebbels, as far as I can remember. Had real characters, and then had these like unstoppable movie pastiche characters in it as well. Yeah. Like Aldo Rain and
the idea that he's a Mary Sue. I will admit that he has his super strength thing going for him.
So yeah, he's got the sort of like Victor Hugo super strength.
Yes.
I think, but the thing is, I think what makes him not a Mary Sue. So like I said, there's like the subtle movements of sadness. I think, like you said, like there is also that tension that derives from an inherent vulnerability that we believe he has.
Yeah.
Like when he's at the ranch, he doesn't seem like he's in unstoppable. He's thinking about every action quite a lot because he knows he's in like quite a precarious situation. And like a Mary Sue or Gary Stu, whatever you want to call them, wouldn't do that because they wouldn't have like the writer wouldn't imbue them with enough self-doubt to carry that scene through.
If he was a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu, I actually rate that people have called the movie on this. I think it's healthy that people are having that criticism for a male character.
Yeah,
good, but just I mean there wouldn't be any tension in that scene if that wasn't the case. And the reason that ranch scene is so scary is because you know what, he's pretty fucking hardcore, man, but there's a lot of them, and you don't know what their deal is. I mean, we know that they're the Manson family, but we don't know if they're thinking about killing him. Yeah. We don't know if they're all going to just suddenly pull guns.
There's a good subtext there, or a good like sort of bit of meta knowledge is that we know that they're the Manson family, but we also know they're the Manson family in a Tarantino movie. Yeah. So we've got no idea what they're going to get up to because we know that there's this possible for like a historical divergences.
Kung Fu revenge.
Exactly, which is here's a fun one. There was a minor like wiki war on Wikipedia before this film was released, so after the Cannes showing but before the wide release, where like a fake ending of it was in circulation, which involved, I guess they knew that Bruce Lee, Mike Moe had been cast as Bruce Lee, and so there was a weird Kung Fu siege ending involving the eventual death of Charles Manson himself, which again, like we said, would have been comparatively unrestrained, and that would have made one of the pillars of the movie the Tarantino ultraviolence in a way that it wasn't.
It was going to be all of them fight off the Manson family, including pregnant Sharon Tate, who had been, and this is actually true, she's taught martial arts by Bruce Lee in the movie, so you can. That's the thing as well. I bet some people would have loved that, and maybe I would have even found it quite entertaining. But I'm so glad it wasn't that. There was this interlude of extreme ultra-violence at the end, but it was quite modest compared to most Tarantino things. It happened in the living room of a house. Yeah,
the only bit where it became borderline like nonsensical, but in like a very deliberate way, was the flamethrower. Yeah, but even that had been Chekhov's flamethrowered.
It was a Rick Dalton moment. Because even though he killed one of the Manson family people, I mean he was such a goon, and he was a drunk goon.
Yeah, he was so drunk that when regaling that story, he's like, "Oh yeah, I killed one of them." He's like, with the flamethrower. And then the guy and then the Polanski guy knows what film that's from. I thought that was a lovely touch. That even like these highbrow Polanski are watching and sort of like, "Oh man, it's Rick fucking Dalton
from the Nazi Revenge movie."
It's the guy from Bounty Law.
They show you that Cliff probably killed his wife earlier on in the movie, and I was waiting for the. I don't necessarily think that I wanted it to be the subject of like a third act reveal, twist, or like character closure moment, But at the same time, I was left wondering why they revealed or why Tarantino chose to reveal such a piece of information, because it made me think that he was sinister in a good way, like that there was something going on with him that maybe wasn't being accounted for yet in the movie. But then the movie ended, and it made me try and think. I was trying to piece it back together thematically. I was like, it was his wife. Is it going to be something to do with Rick's new wife? Is it about doubles, one people? I was really reaching.
Yeah, that's fair. And again, you kind of have to. The only thing I can think of is maybe it was designed to like narratively or like socially put you against Cliff in a way.
Yeah.
And like not trust his actions. And I don't know. I mean, because I had a brief moment. It was pretty quickly overshadowed because the framing of his relationship with the Manson girl that he goes off with. Is so positive that I didn't think he was going to hurt her. But I was wondering if that was the idea, whether it was supposed to be you didn't trust him when he was around women.
Yeah.
This guy is so nice and laid back that he's clearly a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
Which again, he doesn't seem to be. Like the framing of the scene where he kills his wife is just that he had a harpoon gun on his lap and she was pissing him off.
It's just that it's this really like deep dark hole for me that I'm really like, it's become like an abyss of character that I'm staring into.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
If it was about misogyny, then okay, but I can't see where that would fit in other places. Or was he trying to make a different kind of point? Was it like an opposite kind of point? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, the only other thing we said is that maybe it was a commentary on the allegations against Polanski, but most likely unintentional, because obviously. Yeah, Polanski, who is in this film, is a character in this film, has many an allegation against him, and I've got no idea whether it was saying that, has these against them, can be a good person. Is Tarantino that petty? Does he want to wade into that?
Maybe, because I know that he's a Polanski is innocent guy. Exactly.
So but then why show us the harpoon lap scene?
I know. I don't. Maybe. The harpoon lap, exactly. It kind of untangles at that, because it could be that he was trying to say that shock horror Cliff was actually being abused a bit in that relationship, and then I guess from the twisted possible mind of Quentin Tarantino, that's what makes it okay, but then that pulls it quite far away from...
Yeah, I don't know if Tarantino graduated to violence against women is okay if they're being quite abusive.
That's the thing, I don't know.
I don't know, because again, I've got no idea what his frame of reference is.
Inside.
No, exactly, and I do agree, it's sort of, like you said, it's like a black hole, like you can stick the Holden Flash Gordon, you can stick your hand in there, and it was an interesting discovery. So I think we were talking about how, like, this film is clearly made up of, like, many a composite conversation that Tarantino's had over the years, living in Hollywood and LA as he has done for so long, and like meeting people like Polanski and like various characters who he's ingratiated.
He knew their names before he met them as well.
Exactly. So he idealized the life, and then he got to live it, and then he got to meet them, and then obviously he asked them about it incessantly. And there was a really interesting manifestation of this I found out. So Cliff Barton is Hawkeye, is it?
Yes, Clint Barton.
Clint Barton, there we go.
Nice.
So Cliff Booth is a composite character, but one of the main people he seems to take inspiration from is a man called Gary Kelly, who was a stuntman, who was very good at horse riding, who did loads of westerns, and was actually at the Stain Ranch that the Manson family was at while they were profiting from George Stain, and he didn't trust them, and he had to keep working while the Manson family were there. And Quentin Tarantino met him via
Death Proof,
where they were working, because there was lots of car stunts in that, and he was a stunt coordinator at that point. And I think then the two of them got to talking about the Mansons, which again, obviously, so he met many of the people, including I think people like Tex and the two women who would go on to kill Sharon Tate before they'd done that. I guess that there's a bunch of anti-hippie jokes in this. And I think he's a horse riding stuntman from the 50s. Like he seems pretty conservative in nature.
Yeah, he had no time for those Manson hippies.
Yeah, exactly.
They made him feel weird.
He was a war veteran as well, so again, I guess he's just like fucking new age beatniks. It's great because it's the sort of thing that you really rate when writers do, because they can tell a story from two sides that would have never been possibly reconciled. Like that, Kelly would never have told that story to anyone else who would have been able to use it in that way.
Yeah.
And just happened to wander across the right guy who's fucking nuts enough to...
The craziest man ever.
Yeah, exactly. The craziest, most budgeted man. Speaking of which, I think we should probably address this. I think it's really funny that he went to the Tate family, went to Polanski, didn't go to Bruce Lee's family.
No.
I think considering Bruce Lee probably has like Because Roman Polanski is portrayed in a near universally positive light for the few scenes that he's in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically just like, I think at one point they say he's a short man who looks like a child.
Yeah.
So that's about as close as an insult as it gets. And
Yeah.
I'm sure of all the stuff Polanski's had levelled at him, that doesn't keep him up at night.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Water off a duck's back.
so
Just like the pedo talk.
oh.
I will say that because Bruce Lee he died before his time.
Yep.
Obviously, a lot of people in this got that consideration that him and his family didn't get. That being said, Bruce Lee's daughter is being either incredibly entitled or incredibly cynical with regards to kind of the legacy of her father, in my opinion, just because she says things. She was like, when my father went to Hollywood, he was treated like an absolute nuisance by white Hollywood, all of these things. He was a victim of bigotry and things like that, and I believe all of that, and I'm sure it was terrible. That being said, history has vindicated Bruce Lee. He has had his vengeance, and his family are part of, one of the most prestigious cultural film families ever now. Bruce Lee has been the recipient of so much unfettered praise.
Yeah.
And it's
like,
actually ridiculous.
Countless movies about every aspect of him,
about
even
how he's a god.
Yeah, even down to the clones of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
All sorts of there's no
the massive black market for the Bruce Lee movies.
There's no end of the amount of and he's outlived culturally every person who slandered him 10 times over.
It's insane. I mean, it's fine, but it's actually completely insane how much adulation that man
even from Tarantino. I mean, Tarantino's evoked that imagery, countless times, but many times.
The Game of Death stuff, the Game of Death
Kill Bill.
jumpsuit in Kill Bill. And it's not just him, it's absolutely everyone. He's some kind of teenage boy's demigod. So I think that to then take offence that someone completely the scene that Bruce Lee is in is hilarious. He brags.
Yep.
He's really over the top. He's clearly he does this whole thing with him where he's really up on his combat skills, but he doesn't actually like fighting as much as he says he does, which is actually rooted in fact, by the way. He turned down fights with martial artists, ring matches, because he didn't want to do them. And he just plays on that in a very affectionate way. It's one of the funniest bits in any Tarantino movie I've ever seen. And for Bruce Lee's daughter to say that this is somehow, unacceptably disrespectful, I think that maybe she should take stock, because it can't all be positive. He was a public figure.
Yep.
He made a fortune of which she has benefited.
He's known the world over. I mean,
yes.
I do.
Who doesn't like Bruce Lee?
Yeah, exactly. And no one I don't think anyone watching that was fuck you, Bruce Lee.
No,
you fucking twat.
It was fun. It was how Muhammad Ali is amazing, but he's someone who's rife for spoofing because he took himself so seriously.
Yeah.
And it's okay to spoof people.
Yeah. Especially combat figures as well.
Yes.
And entertainment combat figures as well. There is a certain
Silliness.
Bravado, exactly, that's associated with that. That is definitely a source of humour.
Let's talk about Rick.
Rick is a Western actor who sort of outlived his time period a bit, and he's trying to work out what to do next. It's not the 50s anymore. It's now the cruel 60s moving into the crueler 70s, the era of Nixon. Yeah, Hollywood Westerns ain't big business anymore, and if they are, then it's not for a man who's in his 40s, mid-40s, I think it's supposed to be. I don't know how old Leonardo DiCaprio actually is.
Oh, he's 75, mate.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
I mean, they stay so young because of all those children that they fuck. It's just incredible. So
I'm not even good. No,
not good.
I was like, I can carry this bounce on. Then I was like, no, Josh, no, lawsuits.
The check lawyer is shaking his head in the corner.
Oh. Unloading his gun again.
He's doing so. They talk about this about putting someone over. So the idea is that if you get an older star and then you have the younger star beat them, to the audience, it will give them the prestige. It will give them automatic prestige because they've been seen beating them. It's something used in wrestling, something used in television. It's something that modern day celebrities like The Rock are very keen to stop because they don't want to be seen as losing too much in case it damages their brand.
But it made for great character building because he was this guy who had tried to leave TV for a movie career that hadn't really worked out. Now he was back in TV, and we knew, because we saw him rehearsing and being pepped up by Cliff, that he was trying to bounce back. He was actually a lot like Alan Partridge.
Yeah,
and,
very true.
And then obviously you find out from Al Pacino's character that actually, even though he thought he was maybe on his way to reinserting himself back into the culture. He was actually just being used as a stepping stone for other people. So it was
like a
desperate.
short-term trade-off. So it was like, you're trading on what little star cred you have, but every time you do, you diminish it more.
Yes.
Until you're basically used up.
And then when he was doing it with Timothy Oliphant, I mean, Timothy Oliphant was clearly the new guy in town, and even though he was stepping on him, or he was going to do so later on, he still he really respected him as an actor, and it was sad. It was really sad. And
it was like the aging. It was done really well, like sort of like the aging star. And again, I think that's why in many other films that novel that he started crying over would have seemed trite.
Yeah,
but it worked really well in that bit. And again, I think it was because like he had clearly like. This man just goes through life in sort of like a haze almost, and so he hadn't really stopped to think about the book.
Yeah.
Until he like told a little girl about the plot, and he's like, "Oh fuck."
It was weird, wasn't it? Because I was like, Tarantino. I was watching it, and I was like, Tarantino doesn't do stuff like that. And then I was like, is this that clever? And it's exactly what you said. Because I was like, I mean, someone reading a book and not realizing that they relate to the character is. I'm not going to say it's rubbish, but it's not the most genius thing ever. But you're right. It was the fact that Rick Dalton, it hadn't occurred to him that he was reading a book about himself.
To Cliff, Rick.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's right.
It's because I just want to keep talking about Cliff. It's because I keep thinking about those muscles on like Brad Pitt's
arm.
Man,
those arms. Fall asleep in those arms.
Yeah. How does a man who eats purely mac and cheese sustain that
the
much muscle
pounded
mass?
mac and cheese. I was so irritated. I was like, don't fucking show me that. You're gonna make me dream.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Clint Barton. Don't give me hope.
Look at the Cliff Booth like muscle mass diet. How to be able to bench press a truck on only mac and cheese.
You're getting all of the protein out of this actual powder.
You might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. He's on Lancer. He has a bit of a freak out.
I did love that whole day. Actually, that whole day of shooting for Rick Dalton. It was an amazing character piece.
It was,
I guess it was what 20 minutes.
I was going to say it was like 25 minutes as well. It was a chunk of the film,
and
it was a good chunk of the film. And like that little girl, like I thought she was great. I thought she was going to be so annoying.
Right.
And I ended up really liking her.
I thought
she was very endearing. She was very. I liked the arm pads thing. I thought won me over.
There you go.
Sometimes I just throw myself on the floor when no one's looking.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah, she was still. That was what was good actually. It wasn't like here's a kid and she's way smarter than you. She was also quite bratty and snotty.
Yeah, she was, and again,
just like he's bratty and snotty.
And I think that she wasn't perfect, and she wasn't like there's wisdom in the in youth sort of thing. Like she
didn't go too far.
Yeah, exactly. She was basically just a sounding board that he felt comfortable enough talking to because it was a child, rather than everyone else who he tries to be, Mr. Big Bad Cowboy for.
Dalton, yeah.
So
it was such a great tragic character beat for Rick that even though from the perspective of the characters, they thought that he might be a bit there's a possibility that they could think that he was a bit washed up and maybe he wasn't trying very hard anymore, and when he started to forget his lines, for us what I found so actually hurtful about watching that is that even though he did get drunk the night before, he did learn those lines.
Yeah.
Like he really cared about acting. Yeah. It's just he was juggling another issue in his life, and he was saying that to himself. He's like, you drink all the time, you son of a bitch. Yeah. And it hurt to see that he definitely still was working hard on his acting, but it was being interfered with other stuff.
Definitely, there was an injustice there almost. Even though he'd been done the drinking, you can kind of like say you can look past that and just be like, well, he did try. So yeah, Sharon Tate.
About some of the controversy.
I
disagree with your hypothesis.
Oh, I disagree with everyone's hypothesis ever.
Oh my god!
I live in a.
How do you live?
I go to my Plato cave and just stare at the wall until the day is done.
Nice, and try and touch nothing.
I come out to podcast on occasion.
Watch confusing movies.
I reject your hypothesis. He was right to. I mean, he should have said it not like a bird.
In a less douchey way.
Yeah.
Any good point Quentin Tarantino ever has, he undercuts by just being such a. He is smart, but he's always trying to be smarter than he is.
What was is it like no Karen? What does he say? No Sharon? What's the name of the book?
No Karen.
Karen, that's it.
Because it's so much fun, Sharon. He should
have just said that again. Like he perfected that 20 years ago. Say no. Name.
That was fun. You're talking about real life. I'm talking about the movies. Yeah. That was good.
Oh yeah, well, that was fucking psychotic, wasn't it? What would you do if some kids assaulted you? I missed that era of discourse.
You can tell why he's so fucking done, because for as you said, 20 or 30 years he's been confronted with just ridiculous slurs where people will say, what if some teenagers see your movie and go out and like kill an old woman?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
It's just like, well shit, if that was all it took, then they were on their way to it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit of controversy about Sharon Tate. doesn't have too many lines in the film, but has a lot of screen time and a lot of character development. Obviously, as the generation that I want to call it the Beckinsale test.
The
Bechdel?
The Bechdel test.
There we go.
Yeah.
Kate Beckinsale test.
Yes.
Whether a film includes Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale
or Kate
Lycans.
Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, that's a good test.
Yeah, no, so yeah, it's like on a generation that accidentally took the sort of like parody that was the Bechdel test to heart.
And decided that it was an academic.
Yeah, that it was, a thesis, a hypothesis not worthy of rejection. We've decided that because a character who happens to be a woman, doesn't speak much, but has a lot of non-verbal character progression and exploration, bearing in mind this is a real historical figure, that person is therefore lamentable, and again have sort of like superimposed a admittedly quite creepy man's predilections upon, but not confirmed predilections, might we say.
And as well, it's just like he is creepy, he is weird. He's not someone who I would drink with in a bar for very long, because I think he'd be quite annoying.
Yeah, definitely.
We're talking about Quentin, right? Not Polanski.
I mean both, but
Quentin is not as bad as Polanski. I would glass Polanski.
No, I was talking about Quentin. And again, like I wouldn't trust him with people I like. Again, like I think that he
doesn't mean you just get to accuse him out of
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean you can like invalidate his art with just the line like, it's like, why didn't she say more? Because that's not what it's all about. If it was just about saying stuff, then I mean, I like to track this one out, but I've told you before that Bikini Car Wash Company 2 passes the Bechdel test for flying colours.
Your favourite.
And those women talk a lot, but they're talking a lot while washing cars in bikinis.
With their boobs.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the dialogue ain't the be-all and end-all of character development there.
Many an argument me and Aaron have had up late at night, arguing about what's the better sequel, Blade 2 or Bikini Car Wash.
We should probably watch both Blade 2 and Bikini Car Wash Company 2.
At the same time?
On like two screens?
Dueling television screens.
Yeah, that's good.
I wouldn't say annoyed, I would say I was let down by some of the headlines where it was like Tarantino's like male gaze is... Like the fact that the whole Sharon Tate thing was a male gaze thing. It's like, feet up notwithstanding, which I'll give you. Like, I started this review with a joke about that, but feet up notwithstanding, I think that a filmmaker following a character around kind of ponderously and thoughtfully while they, maybe an interesting, like harmless, but maybe an interesting little ego trip where they feel proud of themselves, they go see a movie that they're in and they're pleased that people are happy about, like, the stunts they did in it, and you see their face light up at, the fruits of their labour. I don't think that's the male gaze.
No, not at all. No one's like, oh yeah, she's so proud of her work ethic.
Oh, that's right, we'll do those karate moves. Oh yes.
No, yeah, indeed. But it's insanity. And again, I bet you they didn't even register that. All they thought about was the fact that she was there not speaking. Or they were thinking, how can this be turned into a narrative against Quentin Tarantino?
Yeah.
And again, like you saw,
of which there are plenty of legitimate narratives.
Yeah, many.
He made an actual movie. Well, the Kill Bill movies, which I don't really like.
Yep.
They're a bit ridiculous. They're just a bit ridiculous. I think they're quite dull. They're full of female characters, and they're all quite annoying.
Yeah.
I thought that contained some. I'm not going to say like problematic characterization, but for me personally, I just thought that it was pretty flat. In comparison to, Jackie Brown or Mia Wallace. Mia Wallace is a very likeable character.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great performance.
And I don't normally like Margot Robbie.
No, me neither. Yeah. Which, again, is one of the reasons that I think, besides the fact that he, writes his own scripts and has like an incredible sense of cinematography and camera work, I think ultimately what makes him so endearing is that he can just take any given actor, like even a fucking washed up, dead son John Travolta, and just turn them into an absolute powerhouse.
We were saying this the other day, I have no fucking idea how someone who clearly has as bad social skills as Quentin Tarantino, who is as clearly unbearable to be around as Tarantino is. Like, whenever you watch like him in a Brown Table interview, he always laughs for way too long at his own joke. Like, he says things that just aren't funny, and everyone kind of goes like, along with him. But they clearly love working with him. That must be a good conversation.
It must have been so tedious going into like a VHS shop in the 90s or like in the 80s, wanting just your like fucking VHS and tape and having Quentin Tarantino talking across at you, glaring down at your feet.
Uncle Buck is actually a remake of a Chinese karate movie called Uncle Kataraman.
Leave me alone.
Please, I hate my life and I hate you.
Yeah, they haven't invented the internet yet and I'm fucking miserable.
There's no other video store in town as well.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Quentin works 7 days a week.
Oh, I bet he does. And he's like got his little like Quentin badge there as well.
The little blockbuster ticket. He's just any man who comes in. He's just like, Foot porno's over there, sir. It's like, excuse me? Oh, I think you heard what I said. Let's talk about it, man. Let's do the ending, because we were both wrong-footed as shit by this ending, and I think I've largely reconciled with it, but I'm not just going to forgive it at the same time. You know what I mean?
So there's two stages of this ending. There's the first part, which had always been on the table for me, which was that it would go down an ahistorical route, because obviously it happened before. But I actually didn't think it was going to happen by the end. I'd sort of reconciled to the fact it was going to be a tragedy, and I think that's because the characters of Cliff and Rick were so sad, or like so lined with pathos in a way the bastards weren't. That I thought it was going to be about them reacting to something horrible, and it was going to further cement the end of the era-ness.
I genuinely thought that this was a movie that would actually be about the murder of Sharon Tate. That's why I thought.
And I thought that was bold and brave. And when it didn't happen, there was a mixed feeling, but again, not an unexpected one. But then the real shocker came in with the actual ending of the film, which we'll get to in a minute, I guess, once we've discussed the murders, or the lack of murders. There's still some murders.
The different murders.
No, Rick has come back from Italy with Cliff. He's got married. They're having a goodbye party, because their lives are both about to change, because he's got a wife now. Cliff is smoking a acid cigarette that he got from the Manson girl.
Yeah.
And Rick has decided to make lots more margarita and just get like steam drunk wasted in his pool.
If you even broadly know, and I only broadly knew what happened that night, his Tarantino historical diversion moment in this was obviously the Manson family, or the members of the Manson family who committed the murders, show up in the cul-de-sac and they're looking at where Charlie has told them to go, which is obviously the Polanski house. But then, Quentin Tarantino spits his insane, drunk, fictional character at the car.
Yep, right at the car.
Shout at them for idling their engine too loud.
He's like so annoyed at the muffler. He's just like, a fucking muffler. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So they drive away, they come out the cul-de-sac, they sort of like chicken out of killing him there and then. Yeah. They engage in some insane pseudo-philosophy about violence and how Rick Dalton made them violent, so it's only fitting that they kill Rick Dalton.
That was the worst dialogue in the movie.
It really was.
And again, I think time to have bad dialogue.
I think as well, I was thinking about it, and I think he might have wanted to make them deliberately shit.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really work. I know the whole thing is about removing the mystique of the Manson family murders, as we'll get into that.
But they didn't set them up with having that much mystique in the first place.
Exactly. And so therefore there wasn't... I think you could have... it didn't need to be a... Because she cackles as well at one point.
Yeah, they were doing their fake acid head stuff. And it just wasn't very impressive.
Not as good as Brad Pitt's acid.
No, his
was
great.
His was eerily on point.
I don't I'm obviously... I ain't no fucking scientist or nothing. I mean, I wasn't aware, and it may not be the case, that you can smoke acid. However, his under the effects of acid performance was amazing. Especially his, I am in a situation which is incredibly serious, however I am the person who's tripping in it. That was a great subversion of the seriousness of the Manson kind of murders, and that they were showing up with their whole, we have this kind of legend behind us, for the audience, we're serious, you need to take us seriously. And then there's just Brad Pitt, who we know is a really formidable killing machine, laughing at them, saying that their names are dumb.
Yeah, and
dumber than that.
And their mantras are dumb as well. He's just like, I'm here to do what the devil does, and he's doing devil stuff. It is revealed that Cliff has absolutely no problem completely annihilating in the most, like you said, I think the thing is, because there had been such comparatively little violence, and because the characters had seemed so human, watching Cliff Barton actually just destroy people's faces with physical violence. And again, the prosthetics were so good, or the effects were so good, that it was actually just very gruesome and uncomfortable. And these are people whose heads you'd wanted to cave in, but then when you get given it, you're not as happy as you thought you would be.
And I've read people say that it was puerile and base. But I don't know. I mean, it was supposed to be he's a veteran. He is a killing machine. These people are here to kill him,
and
he's going to kill them back.
Yeah, as a culmination, worked really well as well. Of it combined many of the threads that we've just been watching.
It was a great blowout of tension, which he's always good at.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, then it gets a bit more nonsensical, but again, not in a bad way. Most times, if you'd say that, it would be and then it lost the plot. But then it sort of again culminated its sort of arc with the flamethrower, and one of the Manson girls gets just torched to death.
It was crazy escalation, but it didn't lose me. No. I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then threat is resolved. Yep. Cliff has been wounded. He got stabbed in the butt, which is again pretty funny.
Hilarious.
Yep, never not going to be funny. Then the actual ending of the film occurs, so Cliff and Rick reconcile,
Yeah.
and that's lovely. Again, like a really nice close off for Cliff as a character. I thought that was, he doesn't need like a grandiose ending. He just needs to protect his friend, and again, like just doesn't want to inconvenience him.
Consummated their friendship.
Yeah, exactly. The Polanski guy, one of the guys who was supposed to die that night, I don't know which one, comes down and says, "Hey, are you Rick Dalton? What the fuck just happened? Did I hear a flamethrower?"
Yeah, he knows him.
Yeah,
he likes him. Now this is a weird ending because it's good. That moment when Sharon Tate's voice comes over the intercom, it's like it's a weird one because it's a cooperative thing between the audience and the filmmaker, because he doesn't know that he just saved Sharon Tate's life. We know that,
and they will never know that.
They'll never know that, and it's kind of hard to fathom, because at that point, this is what I will say. At that point, Sharon Tate's arc as a character was just that we knew that she didn't die at the end, which maybe isn't really that great. Yeah. We kind of, when we first came out of it, we were like, what the fuck? Was that a little bit masturbatory? And I guess that the point is that he did a similar thing as he did in Bastards, where he corrected a bit of history. Killing Hitler is something that has immediate emotional resonance to everyone, whereas even though we knew about the Manson family broadly, and we knew that they'd broken in and killed Sharon Tate, this seemed, on balance, way less... If it was all just about historical catharsis, it seemed of a much lower magnitude than, curtailing the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And for that reason, we weren't sure why it had gone to this place and ended in this way. And it had been enjoyable. I loved all of it. Why? And I guess,
like, I know the two events aren't comparable, but I guess maybe to Tarantino they are more comparable. I guess he views one as obviously one is sort of like the great war crime of history. Perhaps he views this as like the sort of the zenith of like social celebrity massacre, or like the something that really altered the social fabric of America rather than like the political world fabric.
And the thing is when I was talking to you about it and you were looking stuff up, and
we heard Americans talk about this film,
and it does make more sense.
Yeah, they would hold this so dear, or not dear, but in such a place in their hearts in a way that just I don't think Europeans can.
It didn't occur to me that not only was Rick's arc about him thinking his era was ending, but that also the murder of Sharon Tate really was an end of an era for the American culture, and what it instilled was it was kind of a nail in the coffin of the 60s.
The rise of the conservative right, the sort of like the scaredness of the hippie takeover, that sort of thing.
And that does really interest me, in the fact that they averted that murder, which meant that kind of this cultural era for Hollywood and America didn't end, and then also it meant that Rick Dalton as a character got the second chance that he wanted and was working towards. I actually do really rate that. I think that's really interesting, but I'm not going to give it completely to the film because it wasn't immediately clear to us. And I said to you that it was like when I hear about people who didn't read Watchmen before they saw Watchmen, and even though I like Watchmen, they explained that Watchmen doesn't make sense unless you know everything about Watchmen walking in, because it doesn't communicate all the necessary things. And it's that old chestnut about, is it the movie's responsibility to establish things that you already know? And I do think that a lot of the time, or they assume that you already know, because it's so massive, and I do think a lot of the time it is important. You were like, they established that Hitler is the bad guy and a nasty Wastine in Inglourious Bastards. Even though you know that, the movie needs it because it's a movie, and I think that this needed a bit more, like the introduction of Charles Manson in the movie. He didn't come back. It was a bit eerie, like that really good camera movement where he's looking over the shoulders, but I don't know, like I could have done with a bit more. Yeah. And
then also, obviously, because it's a film partly about Roman Polanski, known paedophile, include Lena Dunham, known paedophile. Which is great.
And rape apologist.
Presumably...
Rape conspiracist, actually.
Presumably Polanski is also a rape apologist. I guess that comes with the territory of being a paedophile. I've got no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to infiltrate... What was it called? NAFTA? What's the...
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember. What's the one in South Park? Like the child fucking organisation. We need to infiltrate them and find out.
The Super Adventure Club.
There you go. Yeah. We need to find out if they... believe, they are rape apologists. I guess they probably don't believe they're rape apologists, actually, because they believe children can consent.
Yeah.
Shit. It's all about seeing it from the other side,
even
folks.
when they're holding them down and they've looted them up, just like Polanski actually did.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He is a mega rapist.
Yeah, and you could, and anyone else would never say, like, he would never go near Polanski, or Polanski's life as the subject for their multi-million-dollar film. And yet he did, and everyone will watch it because it's a Tarantino film.
Aaron? What did you think was left on the cutting room floor Because we know that
would
he
love
makes like the 5-hour movie now and cuts it down to 3.
I would love to know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be made a 5-hour movie and cut it down to 2. Now he
Yeah.
cuts it down to 3.
Yeah.
I guess I reckon quite a lot was actually. We know all the Tim Roth scenes were cut because
Yeah.
he wasn't in that film at all, which was strange.
Manson.
I honestly think more. I think more post-Italy stuff was probably in there.
Yeah.
I think in general, I think that's probably where the bulk of the film was left out because, like, his Italian wife, barely comes into it.
I tell you, with Rick's Italian wife, considering they really fired her into the movie way too quickly, I really enjoyed her screen time.
She was great.
Really made me laugh.
Closing thing. Obviously, people love to make lists.
Yep.
Where does this come in your Tarantino? Because
That's
I assume Kill Bill 1 and 2 are right at the bottom next to maybe even.
Yeah, I like 2 a lot better than 1. That's how bad I think Kill Bill 1 is. I think Kill Bill 1's fucking garbage, man.
You can get every beat you need from Kill Bill 1 by typing in Crazy 88 fight.
Yeah.
Crazy 88 fight and song, and you're done.
But the thing is, like, I find the setup of that movie so weak that unless I'm just watching the Crazy 88 fight on like YouTube, if I get to it when I've been watching the movie, I find it.
Yeah, no,
it's just a chore.
It's very trite. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Kill Bill 1.
Yep.
Kill Bill 2. Then it gets hard because they're all quite good, and even though I hate the ending of Django Unchained, and I think Django Unchained is the most bloated of all of them, I do think it's a very, very good movie. Mostly, I think it's very brave, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea. However, then it's Django Unchained for that reason alone. Reservoir Dogs.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So low.
Which I love it.
No,
like, this is the problem with the list.
No, that's fair.
They're all so good. Reservoir Dogs and Death Proof may be tied. Then Pulp Fiction. Actually, I'll put The Hateful Eight, then Pulp Fiction, then Inglourious Bastards, and now I'm going to go backwards and try and fit in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think I'll put. Tie Once Upon a Time with Hollywood with Pulp Fiction.
That's fair. I mean
That's an ad hoc list.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it, but they're all brilliant.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He's fucking great.
He's great. I mean, and again, it's only when you look through it, you're like, shit, what a varied career since what, 92?
Because he's got so many unlikable tropes that he still makes you love. He's like, even if this is overblown and flashy, you do love me. But yeah, so what are yours?
Mine? Oh shit.
Are.
I think mine's gonna look slightly different to you. I think I'd probably put Kill Bill 1 at the bottom.
Yeah.
I probably would put Kill Bill 2 slightly above Death Proof. I don't actually like Death Proof that much, but I haven't seen it since I watched it on Film 4 once when I was like 17. So
yeah, I've seen it a couple of times. I remember just kind of not being sure what I had on my hands, so watching it once or twice more, like that weekend.
That's fair. I probably should have done that because I think that's the thing is like I was on that huge Tarantino bender you go on just before you turn 18.
Yeah,
as a rite of passage, and I just was very underwhelmed. So I think it would go Kill Bill 1, Death Proof, Kill Bill 2, probably then Django. Again, like it just isn't competitive enough. Honestly, then it would probably be Jackie Brown, but there's no reflection on Jackie Brown as a property. Honestly, Bastards and Hateful Eight like tied with me. I loved Hateful Eight so much. Was not expecting to be happy with it at all, and it really subverted my expectations positively.
I love how we have to say that now. We can't just say it subverted my expectations.
Yeah,
exactly. It was a positive subversion.
It's a negative word now. It's a negative term. Top 3, which is Reservoir Dogs at the bottom of that. Pulp Fiction. Guess at the top. I feel like I'm missing one. 1 second.
I like Bastards better than Fiction.
Really? Shit, I do love Bastards, but...
Bastards is a movie that I respect greatly because I wasn't sure how much I liked it the first time I watched it. And the second time I thought I didn't like it. And then since then it's a movie that's gotten better in different ways every time. Like I'm like, wow, this is mature.
Actually, no, you're right, it is. Okay. We'll go Reservoir Dogs, Bastards, Fiction. And I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would firmly knock the dual ticket of Hateful Eight out one bottom. So it probably comes in about, as it stands, probably about 5th, I think, which is not bad.
No, it's not. And as well, like it's so weird that I may end up loving it way more. And I do really like it now.
So the thing is, like, I've a couple of people I've talked to said they're probably not going to watch it again anytime soon. I think mine's the opposite.
Fuck that!
I think I'd like to watch it the sooner the better.
We might even go and see it again.
Yeah, maybe. Because that's the thing. Because I would like to. I think it would benefit from repeat watchings, and I think maybe that's my problem with Death Proof. Maybe maybe you lack the context. Don't give it a chance. But yeah, no. Very happy.
Keep making movies, Quentin. Make number 10.
Make number 10, make number 12, probably make number 11 before number
Yeah.
12, just because of how chronology works.
He's still, this is the thing, like, I know why he's concerned with his legacy, and I do kind of rate it. Like, he's seen directors
But he's like
fall off.
It's like Rick. He's like, he doesn't want to get ever diminishing returns on his legacy.
Yes.
He wants that brand untarnished. And I get that.
The flip side is that a lot of the great filmmakers, some of the most interesting movies they made happened after, they really smashed it out. After Hours, the scores. Whenever I'm talking about Tarantino and his legacy, I always use this example. Martin Scorsese made After Hours. Scorsese made loads of bad movies, but he wouldn't have made something like After Hours if he was really concerned with making, like a 10-film legacy. Yeah. And I think that's important.
You can't think like that, otherwise you'll never take a step. It's the same reason that leaves writers on the first chapter of a book. You've got to just sort of, and again that's how he felt out half of. That's how I believe he felt out half of those projects that he's made. Some of the best films ever. I don't think if he'd really been concerned about legacy, he would have swung in with Jackie Brown. At that point,
yeah.
And I think that turned out to be a great film.
And I do, I applaud him because he clearly is neurotic about his legacy, and yet has still made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But it's don't stop now, man. You're just getting started. Yeah. These past 10 years have been really interesting, and you've misstepped a little bit sometimes. Tarantino is someone who I didn't used to think who responded to criticism, but actually he definitely does.
Yeah.
He definitely does.
I mean, make Star Trek if you want, and then keep on making.
Yeah.
Because the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek would be the funniest thing.
Fucking great.
Yeah.
This movie's great.
Yeah, go see it. Go rewatch some Tarantino. I probably will.
Even when it falls nobly. I'm very proud of him. He's a good guy.
Keep on trucking.